Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Saturday's edition of the dceu and everything else daily, where we're going to be exploring and talking about Margot Robbie's comments about no Birds of Prey 2 being in development. I've got a bit to say about that, and it's not very positive at all. And of course, we'll be talking about David Ayer's comments where he said the Suicide Squad theatrical cut was unfair to Jared Leto. And of course, I absolutely agree with that, David. And we will also be reviewing and reacting to the massive Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian on the Everything Else part of the dceu and Everything Else daily. So there's lots to talk about on today's show. Don't forget, you can tag me on Twitter and follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mag. You can give me suggestions for videos, articles for videos, send me in fan posters, anything you want, and I will also give you a shout out. So Margot Robbie says a Birds of Prey 2 is not in development. No shit, Sherlock. Well, what have I been telling you all along? Listen, I can defend every DC Extended Universe film. I can't defend what they did to that film and those characters. Journey Smollett and the Birds of Prey actors were betrayed. They were betrayed by one person, and that's Margot Robbie. Nobody else. This is not about Walter Hamada. This is not about Jim Lee. This is about Margot Robbie and deciding to make a film about political mudslinging, making a film about men taking credit for what women do, about toxic masculinity, and it was shit. It was a shit show. They brought in a director. Margot brought in a director who had no proficient experience in doing action or even VFX. Not that the film needed much VFX, right? So they had to bring in a man, the John Wick director, to fix their shit. And even it was so badly done and the schedule was so gone, not even he could totally fix what they damaged. But just think about this. A film talking about toxic masculinity needed a man to come and save them. A movie supposedly about toxic masculinity. Who was everyone's favourite character? Ewan McGregor's Black Mask. Oh, the L's keep on coming, don't they? So really funny. But Margot Robbie's a bit of a coward. She's not like a lot of these Hollywood alt-left nutballs, right? She doesn't really come out with the feminist stuff that much. She gets other people to do her dirty work for her. So for the marketing of Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, they got Ewan McGregor to come out and talk about toxic masculinity because, of course, he's a man. So why not? And he doesn't care. He's been paid millions and millions to do this job. He'll do the job, he'll walk away, and everyone will forget about the movie. No one's remembering Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Emancipation is pretty much a feminist term as well. So, right, don't get me wrong. If they did the emancipation part well, I would have kind of said, wow, this is amazing. So if we saw her at the beginning of the movie with Jared Leto's Joker, and you could see this guy's a right prick, and you could see that he used her, he corrupted her. A lot of people don't believe that, by the way. A lot of people believe in the Suicide Squad movie, especially David Ayer's version, that Harley actually corrupted the Joker. But that's another conversation for another time. If we actually had the first half hour, 50 minutes of this film, seeing them living together and being a couple after he broke her out at the end of Suicide Squad, and then she emancipates herself, she escapes from him, and then joins, Journey Smollett's Birds of Prey. I can actually buy that. That's actually a good, that's good feminist commentary, right? And I think every human being would like to see anyone, not just a woman, but anyone get out of a toxic relationship like that when you tell the story properly. But they're not interested in doing these things properly. Not only are they interested in creating political mudslinging, they don't even do it properly. They don't have any nuance about what they do. So finally, Margot Robbie has told us that Birds of Prey 2 isn't in development. No, it's not. Listen, I've told you what's going to happen. And not many people are telling you this because they're gutless, because they're scared of being unfollowed or getting a few thumbs down. I don't care if you give me a thumbs down. Another one unsubscribed to me yesterday. I don't care if I'm here talking to myself. That's why I call myself Mad Mickey's World on Twitter and a few other platforms, because I am mad and I don't fucking care what you think of me. Margot Robbie is done as Harley Quinn after James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. He will kill her off in that movie, or he will find a way to get rid of her from this universe. She's done with Warner Brothers. She is done with Walter Hamada and Jim Lee. She is done because they all fell out over Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. It is done. It is over. She's done after that Suicide Squad movie, and the multiverse strategy will pluck another one out. And why not? And why not? That's what I say. That's why I say, why not? Now, you lot are going to lose your shit if this happens. This is going to be a really controversial moment. Oh, dceu, Warner Brothers mess up again. How can they get rid of such an awesome actor? Margot Robbie is a critically acclaimed actor who could do anything with her career, but she's doing a Barbie movie. She's doing a female Pirates of the Caribbean. Really, Margot? Really? This is what you're going to do with your career? You started off in Neighbours. You've acted with so many legends. You are becoming a legend, right? And you want to flush a career down the toilet for feminism, for political correctness, for insanity. And you don't even want to give your commentary any nuance. There was no nuance whatsoever in Birds of Prey. It's really a very angry young woman who hates males, right? Or seems to, but I'm sure she has no problem with sleeping with men or dating men or sharing her life with men or having male friends. But when it comes to Hollywood, they've got a stage and they've got to make their crazy, insane commentary, right? It's like when you used to go down the pub with your female friends and have this really big debate about, you know, gender and all that shit, right? And it gets a bit ugly, and in the end you fall out for about 2 weeks, right? It's a bit like that, but this is worse. This is on a much huger scale. You know, no one can defend Birds of Prey to me. Birds of Prey has some goodness in it, don't get me wrong, but it gets lost in this political mudslinging and in this hatred for men. As a man, how can I sit in a cinema and support a film like this, right? It's like what I said about Brie Larson, because I actually think Captain Marvel's an okay movie, but it's very difficult to support a lead in a film when she's standing, you know, on a stage, at a convention, you know, plugging her movie and pretty much slaughtering white males. And you kind of think, really? Who wins from this? Apart from stirring up hatred, and she stirred up a lot of hatred. I think it was the hatred she stirred up that made the film $1 billion. Plus, it was the film before, was it the film before Endgame, wasn't it? So everyone was very pumped for the MCU right then, as they are ever. So here's the thing. This is where we are in the industry now. We are in this industry where they're all crazy. I think I spoke about this yesterday, I'm not sure. But I spoke about Ray Fisher's new show on ABC, the female movement or wherever it is. These are the things they're doing now. They are obsessed. This is alt-left agenda at another level. This is not about entertaining people or compelling people or giving people a form of escapism or real education. It's about this. It's not about hungry children or abused children or abuse or, you know, famine. In the 80s when I was growing up, a pop star called Bob Geldof got people together to raise money for children, women and families struggling in Ethiopia. That was the causes that we looked to when I was young in the 80s. Now the causes are racism, feminism, you know. Now, I want to stop racism. I want to stop females being abused. I want everyone to have the representation and inclusion they deserve. But there's ways of doing it. And they are not the number one problems and number one issues in the world. Jesus Christ, COVID is creating new famine and, you know, new starvation. Those are the important things. What Marcus Rashford is doing, the Manchester United player, is important. Margot Robbie making a film about toxic masculinity isn't important. So you're never going to get a sequel. So what happens? What happens to Journey Smollett and the rest of the girls? Well, as I say, forget Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. But I do believe they won't. That listen, financially, there's no reason why they would have a Birds of Prey 2. But I do believe a Birds of Prey sequel via a series on HBO Max or maybe 3 movies on HBO Max may be something they may look to do, because there's less of an investment in that, of course, and they can spend more money on the content. They can fix the problems of that movie, and the problem of that movie is Margot Robbie and her all-female production company. You know, these people talk about inclusion and representation, but literally she had the rest of the Birds of Prey, you know, Journey Smollett and her cast members standing behind her while she took, well, not glory. And, you know, when people were slaughtering Kathy Yan, when Kathy Yan was arguing with Grace Randolph on Twitter, where was Margot Robbie to defend her director? And actually, since the film, have you ever seen these women, apart from when they're marketing this film, stand together? When was the last time Journey Smollett mentioned Margot Robbie on Twitter? And Journey is on Twitter a lot. Mostly she's marketing and stuff, but she does try and connect with DC fans. I think she's a really good person and a really, really talented person, and we've seen that. Her career's going up and up and up since Birds of Prey. She's probably one of the few positive things of the film, apart from Ewan McGregor's performance as Black Mask. I want to see him back as well, by the way, although they killed him off, didn't they? I can't even remember what they did to him. I think he died, so maybe a Black Mask prequel or a new version of Black Mask through the multiverse strategy. Who knows? So we were never going to get a sequel for this film. Never, ever, ever. Absolutely spot on. And the more we forget about this movie, and hopefully the multiverse strategy, hopefully one of the things it deletes from our memories is Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Now, I saw this article literally half an hour ago. It's really early here in Cyprus. Suicide Squad director says theatrical cut was unfair to Jared Leto's Joker, which we all agree with. Suicide Squad director David Ayer reiterates the fact that the theatrical cut of the DC movie was unfair to Jared Leto and his version of Joker by Hamza Hussein. David Ayer, the director of the 2016 Suicide Squad, believes the theatrical cut of the film was unfair to Jared Leto's Joker. Ayer's Suicide Squad hit theatres in August of 2016, and despite grossing over $740 million at the box office, critics and fans panned the film. Suicide Squad was a victim of Warner Bros. Interference as the studio altered the tone of Ayer's more serious supervillain drama after the reaction to Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. The result was sloppily edited film with a messy narrative and a serious lack of Leto's Joker. Ayer has been vocal over recent years and months about what his original version of the film had, and it included a lot of unseen scenes involving Joker. What a tragedy. What an absolute tragedy. Leto's Joker has often been subject to criticism, especially when compared to Heath Ledger's or Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of the clown prince of crime. However, Ayer has stated that Leto was mistreated in Suicide Squad and that no one has seen his performance. The director has also backed that up by revealing various images from scenes that have never seen the light of day, such as Joker with a scorched face pointing a gun at Harley Quinn, and the director adding that the film was in many ways supposed to be about Quinn escaping her relationship with Joker. Interesting, because we were just talking about Harley's emancipation, wasn't we? Although Leto will get a surprising return as Batman's rival in Zack Snyder's Justice League, the talk of his original portrayal of Joker rages on, and Ayer has once made his voice heard regarding Leto's treatment in the film. On Twitter, a fan commented on a new tweet that was pushing for the release of the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad by highlighting Leto's portrayal of Joker. The fan tweeted, "I know Jared Leto was better than the theatrical cut of Suicide Squad. I just want to see it." In response to the tweet, Ayer simply replied by tweeting, "Vastly better," once again highlighting the fact Leto did not get a fair crack at showing his Joker chops. Full tweet can be seen below. In recent years, Ayer and Leto have made it clear to fans that they did not get to see the film's true portrayal of the Joker, as the theatrical cut essentially made the role of Joker a glorified cameo. The Suicide Squad director has not been shy to express his feelings about the original version of his film, even pushing for the release of his Ayer cut at one point. So this time, in very few words, the director has reiterated the fact that the theatrical cut of Suicide Squad was unfair to Leto, and there is much more to his performance, considering how talented an actor Leto is, as well as the fact the few scenes people did see of his Joker did not have the original story behind it. It's easy to believe that the Ayer cut would provide fans with a much better performance from Leto as the Joker. Whether or not fans will get to see the vastly better Joker in the Ayer cut is up in the air, as there has been no real indication from Warner Brothers and that they will follow up the Snyder cut with the Ayer cut. However, Suicide Squad star Margot Robbie has also expressed her curiosity in seeing the director's version. Unlike Robbie's Harley Quinn, Joker will not return for James Gunn's Suicide Squad, which, by the way, is plain wrong, but he will return in Snyder's Justice League. It's possible Leto's return in Justice League and Ayer's continued voice may eventually lead to fans seeing Leto's vastly better Joker performance in Suicide Squad. Look, this is all about the push for David Ayer's Suicide Squad. We need to see that film. We know the history behind this. We know what they were doing. And this was a direct response to Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. You know, what happened with BVS led to Suicide Squad. They pretty much pushed David Ayer out, but he still had to be, as he puts it, a good soldier and say the film's his and he's proud of the film and there's nothing wrong with the film and there's not a director's cut. He was made to say all that shit. And so they rewrote elements of the film, reshot elements of the film, edited out a lot of shit as well. And that is hugely disappointing. And I still reiterate my stance and my position in this, that David Ayer's Suicide Squad should be released before we see Zack Snyder's Justice League in March. And that is my opinion. Well, this article from Jill Rosanotsky, or however you say her surname, is going to trigger all of us Snyderverse fans. Justice League Batman's F-bomb would not have fixed the DCEU. You see, movie media and access movie media and critics and pundits are obsessed that the DCEU needed fixing. In fact, the box office was extremely healthy apart from Justice League, and we know why that was, right? So they were doing okay. They weren't breaking records. They weren't doing what Disney were doing, and that pissed Warner Brothers off and Kevin Sugihara off, which led him to make the insane, ridiculous decisions which were never going to help him compete with Disney, just make things a lot worse. And his decisions did make things a lot worse. Snyder was telling a defined story. With what Snyder was doing, as I say, we had a defined story, but also we had crossovers and things like that. So what he was doing was creating a universe where characters could meet other characters in other characters' films. Exactly what Marvel were doing. The difference is what Snyder was doing was darker, more compelling, and more interesting. And that's even cooler. So they were going to get everything they wanted. Everyone just had to be patient with Snyder's universe. But they didn't do that. For example, you can tell that his influence is in Wonder Woman 2017, but his influence isn't in Wonder Woman 1984. You can tell that with the directions Patty went. If he was still running the franchise, I think Wonder Woman 84 would have slightly been different. Maybe even had a small cameo, right? But they didn't do it. It's because this is Patty's movie, Wonder Woman 84. But this man's influence had the DCEU as one world, as a shared universe. And as we saw from Wonder Woman 84, I don't want to spoil too much more, but there's a lot I could say about that film, by the way. Lots of good about that film. But I think one of the negative things for me is that Zack wasn't in charge of the universe when that film was made, because I think it would have been even better. Anyway, Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League will reportedly include Batman dropping an F-bomb, but is that addition enough to fix the DCEU's underlying issues, or please underwhelmed fans? Well, I don't think anyone who loves the DC Extended Universe cares that Batman's going to swear. You know, why are you making this about fixing the DC Extended Universe? Who cares if Batman swears or not? As I explained the other day about this is one version of Batman in the multiverse. We've already got a new Batman coming. We've got Michael Keaton's Batman coming. We've got this Batman coming back in Flashpoint. There's so many versions. So one version swears, big deal. And what's swearing got to do with fixing or not fixing a franchise? And it doesn't need fixing, by the way. Anyway, only needs fixing from the people who tried to fix it when it didn't need fixing. Are you keeping up with me? underlining issues or please underwhelmed fans. The announcement that the Snyder Cut would feature Batman swearing left many amused and openly criticising the direction of the upcoming movie. Only ones who don't get it. Batman, as dark and gritty as recent interpretations of his cinematic characters have become, is not known for cursing or committing blatantly violent acts. This, and the fact that the DCEU has produced more misses than hits, does not guarantee the Snyder Cut will resolve all of the franchise's issues. What misses? What misses has it had? Man of Steel, big hit. BVS, big hit. Suicide Squad, despite its problems, big hit. Wonder Woman 2017, huge hit. Shazam made more than what they spent on it and made a healthy profit. Aquaman over $1 billion. And the only problem in this is the one you don't want to talk about that you think is a hit, and that's Birds of Prey. Exactly. After the success of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, the DCEU attempted to replicate the formula in other films like Zack Snyder's directed Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. The films touted bleak retellings of how brooding superheroes who don't follow their normal comic book code of conduct. Man of Steel's ending drew much ire from critics and fans when Superman demolishes most of Metropolis and kills Zod. Superman doesn't demolish Metropolis, he's in a fight with another supervillain, and unfortunately their strength and power does demolish Metropolis, but you know, the way you're describing it, sweetheart, is that he gets his heat vision and purposely destroys Metropolis. Let's get it right, idiot. And kills Zod. While some DCEU films have garnered moderate success, this is ridiculous, they ultimately suffer from less engaging plots. Bullshit. Static characters and bullshit, and noticeably bad CGI work. Bullshit apart from Justice League. Apart from Justice League. This is what caused fans to rally online and demand release of the Justice League Snyder Cut after Snyder left the production on the original film early due to a family tragedy. Bullshit. But can Snyder's version really fix the DCEU's problems? As I say, the only problems that franchise ever had was Justice League and Birds of Prey. The rest of the films I can defend. I don't need to defend them. They're great movies. It's highly unlikely that having everyone's favourite Caped Crusaders say the F word will solve the DCEU issues. Right? No one is saying that the issues need fixing. What issues, by the way? And this point you're making is fruitless and pointless. A character swearing isn't about fixing or not fixing anything. He's just swearing. Shut up. And give a long-time fans what they want. Ultimately, it's an odd choice in an effort to revitalise the original Justice League, which was muddled with reshoots and tonal shifts under the direction of Joss Whedon. If the point of Batman using the F word will make an already sombre movie feel even more brutal, then it's safe to say it's probably an unnecessary addition. DC fans don't need their beloved superheroes spewing vulgarities. They want character development, better effects, and more compelling plot lines. Justice League lacked these defining features. Important members of the League like Cyborg and the Flash did not receive the backstories they deserved and showed up in scenes with little or no explanation because we need everything explaining to us. Steppenwolf, the film's primary CGI villain, didn't have clear motivations or worthy enough backstory. Listen, love, you ain't even seen the Snyder Cut. How do you know the Snyder Cut doesn't solve all these problems? Without these defining features, characters could be considered one-dimensional and tedious. Yet, typical critics' words, the Snyder Cut should dedicate more time to the League's titular players and antagonists, fleshing them out in meaningful ways. How do you know the film doesn't do this? Because I know for a fact that it does. Fans have also called out the DCEU's tendency to overdo special effects. Superman's mustache debacle was oh my God, what are you going on about? Contested issue before the theatrical version of Justice League was released. The studio had to digitally remove Henry Cavill's facial hair that he'd grown for Mission Impossible. Fallout and the final product was far from seamless. No, it was disgusting, and no company, let alone an iconic studio like Warner Brothers, should never have released a film in that condition. But let's see how Access Media deal with the fact that the de-aging of Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, sorry, spoilers, is absolutely also disgusting, also horrible, and shouldn't have been released in that condition. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian shortly. The final battle is also chaotic, CGI-heavy spectacle with very low stake. Why do these people hate CGI endings and CGI spectacles? It's okay to have CGI battles. That isn't Justice League's issue, and I can promise you there's still a CGI battle in Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? And the stakes weren't very high, by the way. She's right about that. Low stake, which rivals Wonder Woman's climactic scene when Diana facing off against Ares. No. When she faces off against Ares, it's an awesome battle, and Steve Trevor has just died, and he's tempting her to the dark side, and she chooses love. It is a fucking beautiful cinematic moment, and it proves you know nothing about storytelling or films. Anyway, though Zack Snyder is known for his flashy, slick-looking projects, the Snyder Cut should be able to blend practical and digital effects for a seamless, effective transition. He always does. He always does. Substance over style is key for this new installment to excite and impress fans. No, you can have substance and style, and Zack Snyder films and content always have that. Convoluted plot lines involving the Mother Box could be substituted with a formal introduction of the DCEU's answer to Marvel's Thanos' dark side. We don't care about the MCU. You like it, good for you. Watch it 24/7. Shut the fuck up. The DCEU has several issues it must contend with them, but Batman delivering F-bombs wouldn't be the right answer. The worlds of the DCEU are already gloomy enough as it is, and introducing expletives will only detract the audience from discovering merit in the characters and storyline. The Justice League Snyder Cut has a lot of potential to be better than the theatrical cut. It's already better than the theatrical cut. We ain't seen it yet. But swears will not alleviate the storyline. Rather, the focus should be on character development, which would make for a more enjoyable watch. So this person literally, right, is triggered because the guy swears once. It's ridiculous. This is one version of many versions of this character in the multiverse. It makes no sense to be triggered about this. Personally, if I was a director and I had Batman in my film, he wouldn't be swearing. None of my heroes would be. I don't get them. I don't see the point of it. But if he wants to do that and that's his choice, it's up to him. Because ultimately, with this multiverse strategy, I don't care that much because I know I'm getting a more, I wouldn't say, I'm getting a comic book accurate, probably the most comic book accurate version of Batman in Matt Reeves' The Batman. You can tell what he's trying to do. He's trying to create a Bat family. He's trying to do the whole thing. He's going the full way, and I can't wait to see his movie. And the reason he's been quiet about Warner Media's release plan next year is because he said to them, no way are you putting my film on HBO Max or I'm gone right now. They moved his film to 2022 purposely because there were no production issues or anything. The COVID delays were minimal. And so this is why he's in 2022. And this actually proves that they will go back to their cinematic plan once we can sustain this virus in the world that we live in. So, yeah, at the end of the day, this is why I'm not bothered by the swearing. It's not a big deal anyway. I personally don't see the point of him swearing, but I just am not triggered by it either. Are you relaxed? Let's adjust my top so I look my best as possibly as I can. Not great, is it? Let's talk about The Mandalorian. Before we review the first two seasons, and I'm not going into it that deeply, I really want to talk about yesterday's season 2 finale, because we do have to look back to season 1 a bit, because season 1, really the concept of The Mandalorian was this hardened stranger with, it's like kind of the stranger without a name, the kind of Clint Eastwood cowboy we saw years and years ago. So when we first meet the Mandalorian, he's very gruff, growly, quite tough. He's not the soft character we know now. So when he first comes in contact with Baby Yoda, the kid as he calls him, Grogu, as we now know him, there's this tough exterior. He's not a villain. He doesn't. Ultimately, he feels he gets given this job. He hands the kid over, but he just can't just leave. He's a child at the end of the day. So, the Mandalorian has empathy. He doesn't want to see that child killed, so he saves him. So in season 1, you see them traveling from place to place. They have one and done stories. They meet characters. They solve issues. It's fun. It's great. It's solid. It's not the best Star Wars thing in the world, but it's good entertainment. and it works for what they're doing. And it's that classic, like the Incredible Hulk TV series, the Fugitive TV series, moving along every week, meeting new characters with new threats, new challenges, and helping some people sometimes as well. It's good, it works, it's solid. And you still had Moff Gideon, and we'll talk about him a little bit later on in the first season. It all kind of works right, and you still got the mystery behind Baby Yoda. So the whole thing works. But in season 2, they threw the whole thing out the window, and they said, right, after the first couple of episodes, we are going for it. We are doing Ahsoka, we're doing Boba Tang, we're doing everything. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the finale, please go away so you don't spoil it for yourself. Basically, we're giving you a de-aged Luke Skywalker. And so, look, I think all of the finale is great, and the idea of having a de-aged Luke Skywalker is beautiful, because everyone who loves Star Wars and the character of Luke Skywalker wants what happened in The Last Jedi just to go away. And maybe I'll tell you a little bit later on, if I remember that is, why I think this is what they're going for. But everything's great in the finale. I do have my issues with what they did in season 2, even though I think it's great and awesome and epic and exciting for the future of Star Wars. I have issues about it as well. The unoriginality of it all, because season 1 is really original and season 2 isn't as original. So everything in the Mandalorian season finale is epic, great. I'm emotionally embraced in it. But that VFX of a de-aged Luke Skywalker, and this is the company that had an awesome de-aged Robert Downey Jr. How do we go from that to this? Well, it's schedule, timing, how much time frame they had to do it, and the budget. And I don't think they had enough of any of these things to make it good enough. And just like the Cavill upper lip disaster, if it's not good enough, the public should never see it. It simply wasn't good enough. But the idea was beautiful. The idea was beautiful. Now, I've been talking with a few prosthetic workers, because I know a few as well out here in Cyprus. And I was asking, could you de-age a character with a prosthetic mask, with making a younger version of a prosthetic, then using lesser amount of CGI on the prosthetic? And they said to me, it is possible, but it takes longer. And I think time is something they didn't have, because time is more money. But that's the problem with it. But the idea of bringing back Luke Skywalker to be the one to train Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, is great. And it was great to see him. Don't get me wrong. I'm a bit confused. Mark Hamill's name was in the credits. Was that the voice? I suppose he was trying to perform Mark Hamill's a good impersonator. He's good at doing voices. So I'm assuming that was him trying to do his own voice as a young man. I think they kind of got that wrong as well. But the idea of Luke being there, the idea of the Mandalorian saying he doesn't want to go with you, that was such an emotional moment. And for me, the greatest thing about this show is Pedro Pascal. You can give me Cara Dune, who I love. I love Cara Dune. And I love the fact that Boba Tang is in this and is played by the same actress who voiced her in Star Wars Rebels. Isn't that amazing? But the number one element is the thing that should be the number one element, and that's Pedro Pascal. I've heard so many people from the fandom menace saying, oh, he's the most boring thing about the show. He's not. He's a great actor. That is a great character. And emotionally, you are with this guy on this journey. He is lonely, but he has a mission. He's doing something not for himself, not for his people, but for a small child. And that is the most beautiful thing in the world. If you discovered a child in distress that you didn't know, that didn't have your blood, that wasn't connected to you, would you help it, or would you just leave it there to die? This is the question that this show leaves, especially now where you could just look at a child and, you could get the wrong accusations made to you. Is it worth your while to rescue a child, to help a child? Of course it is. Of course it is. This world has gone so bad now, so negative. We can't even help children. We can't rescue children. So this show actually has really good commentary about strangers helping each other. You can see a child on the street. If you talk about it, people will make accusations at you, but you could save that child's life. You could get that child a meal. very important issues in today's jaded times. We are so jaded today, and we look at each other with dark purpose, and we need shows like The Mandalorian that actually are uplifting shows about a strange man who is an orphan. We've seen the flashbacks for The Mandalorian, and it's all great. You know, his parents were killed. He was raised by other people, so he really could be so damaged and bitter. But this guy knows what it's like not to have parents and, you know, to be brought up by other people. So he rescues Grogu, Baby Yoda, and he does the best he can do for him. But they don't really understand each other. They don't even speak the same language. It's just, you see this puppet, and the puppet isn't doing the acting. The puppet's great. The movements in the puppet are great, but they're still quite limited. It's all about directing and Pedro's performance, so it is beautiful. And to have Luke Skywalker there after they messed him up in The Last Jedi is beautiful. Now, the question is, where are we going with this? Are we going to have more de-aged Luke Skywalker? And it's pretty confusing, isn't it? Because we were told The Mandalorian Season 3 would stream on Disney Plus next December. But in a post-credit scene, an awesome post-credit scene where, you know, Boba Fett literally takes back the throne. Well, the throne was never his, but he takes the throne, right? And then it says, coming December 2021, the Book of Boba. I think that's what the show's supposed to be called. Is it a show called the Book of Boba? Is it an episode of The Mandalorian called the Book of Boba? Will the Book of Boba just be The Mandalorian Season 3? Half is Mandalorian, half is the Book of Boba. We're all confused right now. We don't know what's going on. Because for all intents and purposes, the Mandalorian story is done. He's going to stay with the Mandalorian rebels. He's going to fight. And and I mean, something else which was amazing, he now wields the dark saber. It's his. He can't give it back. That moment when, you know, this is all Boba Teng's ever wanted, and she can't have it. And it's great. I mean, Moff Gideon, that's his name. I'm shit with names, by the way. But Moff Gideon is probably the best Star Wars villain, I think, since Palpatine and Vader. He's a classic Star Wars villain. But this guy is happily evil. He's a bit like Lionel Luthor in Smallville in the early seasons. He's gleefully evil. I love that when they're unapologetically evil. And this guy, you know, this guy's literally saying to the Mandalorian, take the kid, just don't come near me again. Then he goes to kill him. This guy's a backstabbing little weasel, and he loves it. And he took great pleasure in telling them, you can't give it back to her, even if you willed. He loved that. And we're going to see more of him. So in terms of what they're doing, what, you know, John and Dave are doing here with this new era of Star Wars on Disney Plus, it is extremely exciting. And I don't want you to misunderstand me, but I had to talk about the VFX, because if you're going to slaughter DC for what they did, I mean, I've just read an article where they're slaughtering DC's VFX for Cavill's upper lip, and no one can defend that. No one. They were rushed, underfunded. The schedule was too quick with what they were doing, and they didn't get it right, and it should never have been released to audiences. And I believe, you know, do you imagine George Lucas or Steven Spielberg allowing VFX so bad to be released? Of course not. Of course not. But we are now here in this area of kind of where they're a little bit lazy and they think they can talk their way out of anything. And plus they're thinking this is Luke Skywalker. They're not going to give a shit that the VFX is shit because it's Luke Skywalker. And I think most people have that attitude. And as I say, it's great that he's there, but they certainly are going to have to go back and fix it and put a better version in, as far as I'm concerned. And if they're going to do it again, you know, Mark Hamill needs to work on the voice a bit, and definitely visually they have to spend more money on it, which I'm sure they will, because I'm sure Luke, I don't know if we'll see him in any of the other spin-offs. It is interesting. Will we see him in the Book of Boba? Will Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker actually get his own straight-to-streaming Disney Plus? And where should this be? I don't know. It's complicated. I mean, Mark Hamill, as he looks now, could play kind of a Luke Skywalker, maybe when he's on that island. I don't know what he will be doing on there. That's the problem. But I do believe we are heading to deleting the sequel trilogy in a really nuanced way, because I think they want to get rid of it. I think they're ashamed of it. I genuinely believe this. And this whole thing with The Mandalorian was to fix what they did there, because their whole attitude in the sequel trilogy was leave the past behind, and this is basically set way before the sequel trilogy, just after the Return of the Jedi, and they're focusing on the things that the fans love. Boba Fett was a big thing. When I heard they were doing a Boba Fett movie, I was like, why does anyone want to see this? But then you see what, Dave and John have done with him already in 2 or 3 episodes, and it's sensational. When you see him facing off against the female in the cantina, it's really thrilling, and you can see what a great actor he is as well. And there's so much potential with what John and Dave are doing. But what I would say is season 1 is telling an original story, where season 2 is just constantly throwing fan service. Now, the question we have to ask, and I do believe that we need to ask this, is what do we prefer? The originality of season 1, where it's solid, not the most amazing thing ever, but it's solid, entertaining, and okay, and it's going in a good, solid direction, or do we prefer this? Now, all the best shows, Smallville included, which is one of my favourites, seasons build on the other, and they get better and better. But, first of all, we don't know what the future of The Mandalorian is, if it is the Book of Boba, or he actually has his own season. And if he is having his own season, and he is with the Mandalorian Rebels, how is that going to work? Because if you think about it, now he wields the dark saber. We could have a Game of Thrones situation, because as Moff Gideon told them, whoever wields that sits on the throne of Mandalore, kind of. So you've got a Game of Thrones situation there. So it could become a very different. They could go down another level with this character now that Grogu's being trained. Now, what is the future of Grogu? He's gone off with Luke Skywalker to get trained. Now we know what happens at the temple where Luke's training younglings, right? We know what Kylo Ren does and how he turns to evil and all of that. A lot of people saying, oh my God, Grogu's going to get killed. No, I don't believe that's going to happen. And I think there's a defined reason, actually, why they decided for Grogu to go off with Luke and nobody else. Because he could have gone off with Ahsoka. He could have been in Ahsoka's show. But I don't think, if we're going to carry on with The Mandalorian, I don't think Grogu and The Mandalorian are going to be separated for very long. We may even get a time jump in The Mandalorian Season 3 if we're still going with that show. And I think Baby Yoda may be a little bit older, a bit like what they did with Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That'd be interesting. The problem with that, of course, is the Baby Yoda toys are selling really well. So somehow he's going to be involved, and they're going to keep on involving him. So maybe they won't time jump. I don't know what they're going to do. We're going to have to wait for a year. Obviously, even if it is the Book of Boba, we will see the Mandalorian again. Maybe this is the next era for the Mandalorian. Look, I'm as confused as you are. But in terms of the finale, in terms of the episode, it was really good. And I mean, you've got the Dark Troopers, which are awesome. They really are awesome. And they're so dangerous. And as they explain, these aren't people in armor. They're actually droids, and they're really, really dangerous. And that moment, when they're banging on the doors like that, I think that's a great place for a season finale cliffhanger. But unfortunately, nobody believes in cliffhangers anymore. I heard John Campion saying, I didn't want a cliffhanger. I don't like cliffhangers. I love cliffhangers, even if they're cliffhangers for the sake of cliffhangers. Season finale cliffhangers need to come back. But that is not what they were going, because they were setting up other things for the future. So they couldn't do that anyway. And I'm fine with that. But that's a great moment. And the choreography of the green lightsaber coming out, then you know who it is, don't you? Obviously you know who it is once they say that's an X-Wing. But the choreography of Skywalker killing, the Dark Troopers is so awesome. It's done so well. And then, the Mandalorian wants to let Luke Skywalker in, and they're going, are you nuts? Because basically they've just seen a killing machine. It's literally like letting in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator in his prime in. But of course, the Mandalorian's a very trusting character, and somehow they'll get out of it, I suppose. This is the Mandalorian, but it is Luke Skywalker. He is one of the good guys, and he's, this is the whole aim. This was the aim of the season, for someone to come and, take Grogu and train him as a Jedi. And now it's going to be because I think it's a very exciting end to the season, because you don't really know what could happen next. Ultimately, anything can happen. So my highlights of the episode, apart from those I've mentioned, seeing R2-D2 was really cool. And the fact that Grogu was having doubts, and when he sees R2 and R2 speaks to him, he's more convinced to go with Luke. Oh, this is someone like me with my mentality. I could be friends with this person. I can trust this person. This person could be my next Mandalorian, if you like. Now, Cara Dune was so good in this episode. I like the whole thing with her gun breaking and her constantly bashing it. But that moment when that guy, that Emperor soldier, whatever you called him, in the ship, was talking about, was it the destruction of Alderaan? I think that's what he was going on about, and he was taking great pleasure in it, and this was the best thing for democracy. And she's begging him, please, or whatever she's saying, right? Put the gun down, she's saying. And he won't do it. So she blows him away. It's just a great moment, because you see the look on the character's face, and the actor's doing such a great job. Of course, originally, I think she's a wrestler, isn't she? And there's a bit of controversy around her, but I don't care about that. I just care about what I see on screen. And you can be as political as you want. You can have the opinions you want. Everyone has that right? But yeah, that's a great moment. So I really, really like that moment, because he was really trying to get to her. So that's one of my highlights. I think the whole thing in the end with Gideon telling them that, the Mandalorian now wields the Darksaber was great actor. Obviously, Boba Fett is desperate for that. And what is she going to do to get it from him? Is she going to try and kill him? This is why I'm kind of suspicious of where they can go anywhere with this next. So it's really exciting. But listen, the biggest success that John and Dave have achieved with The Mandalorian is that they took Star Wars, that was once loved, and then that love and excitement for the name Star Wars left after The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson was able to do this, destroy everything positive we had for it. And now John and Dave have brought it back. And what they're doing on Disney Plus with the future and potential of Star Wars, like the Kenobi series is really, really exciting. So Star Wars is back. I want them to be a bit careful with too much fan service. I'm still divided on whether I prefer the direction they went in season 1 with this original take, episode by episode, or all this frying in of fan service. But I tell you something, it was a great finale. Season 2 was a great season of The Mandalorian, and I just can't wait to see the Ahsoka series, the Book of Boba, the Kenobi series, which is the one everyone wants to see. There's so much more to come. And I suspect there's loads more Star Wars series to come. And I think there's more money for Disney Plus to develop Star Wars than there is to develop the MCU. But we shall see. Anyway, that's it for today. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with the DCEU and everything else daily. See you again soon.